If you have ever owned a HEATTECH thermal undershirt to survive the winter cold, or an ultra-light down jacket that compresses into a small pouch, then you are wearing the products of a man who built a $50 billion fortune. Tadashi Yanai, the 76-year-old founder of fast retailing, is currently Japan's richest person and ranks 28th globally. As of May 2025, he owns a net worth of approximately $50.3 billion via unique thinking. Despite holding an empire with a market capitalization of about $119 billion, he still appears in public wearing his own basic cardigan. This is not a branding stunt, but a deep belief in the true value of the HEATTECH product. His philosophy reflects a conviction that clothing should be used to solve problems. Instead of merely creating a desire for fashion, he believes truth and beauty should guide both life and business, and that Uniqlo is a technology company, not fashion. In today's episode of Old Money Habits 7, we will analyze how a student who self-described as lazy and skipped school transformed his father's tailor shop into an empire, and why his 1 win, 9 losses philosophy treats failure as essential. The financial trajectory of fast retailing has proven the effectiveness of Yanai's strategy while leaving traditional fashion companies struggling to understand what happened to their industry as a Japanese retailer built a global empire by selling only the most basic clothing items. In fiscal year 2025, the company achieved record performance, with revenue of 3.1 trillion yen, representing a 10.3% increase, and operating profit exceeded 500 billion yen for the revenue. First time in company history. The most recent quarterly results reveal acceleration rather than maturation for the entire business in the first quarter of fiscal year 2026. Revenue reached 1.03 trillion yen, which significantly outpaced competitors like Inditex and H&M. Operating profit surged 33.9%, reaching 210.9 billion yen, beating the consensus estimates of analysts who were already bullish on prospects. Net profit grew 13%, proving that growth translates to actual bottom-line results. Gross margin expanded by 70 basis points to 55.2%, while selling and administrative expense ratios dropped down. This is evidence that the company scale is translating to operating leverage thanks to persistent infrastructure investments made over several decades. In January 2026, the market capitalization of fast retailing surpassed 20 trillion yen, equivalent to $126 billion, becoming the first Japanese retailer to reach this milestone, standing beside giants like Nike and the LVMH Group. The personal net worth of Yanai grew from 7.6 billion in 2010 to over 50 billion in 2025, achieving consistent growth driven by global expansion and operational excellence, which creates a compounding power over a long time. As of August 2024, Uniqlo operates 2,495 stores worldwide, with nearly 800 in Japan, and over 1,600 international stores where the Chinese market holds the largest share with over 1,000. The specialty store retailer of private label apparel model creates unprecedented control over the entire value chain, from design and material procurement to production and logistics, which helps them capture maximum value instead of merely moving raw products from one place. The man behind these massive numbers grew up in a small mining town and never attended a single university class before watching almost all his staff walk out. These experiences shaped a philosophy of embracing failure to manage a massive global enterprise. Tadashi Yanai was born in February 1949 in Ube, a small town in Yamaguchi Prefecture. He showed no early signs of building an empire from the materials his father sold. His father ran a modest shop, serving local working customers. In his youth, he described himself as lazy, which would surprise anyone watching him now, as he inspects every single stitch, with obsessive attention to the smallest details This often exhausts his younger employees, who cannot match his intense focus and energy. He attended the prestigious Waseda University in Tokyo, graduating in 1971 with a degree in economics. Though he admitted skipping classes for 18 months due to student protests, this hiatus provided an opportunity to travel to the United States and UK. There he saw the popularity of mid-market clothing chains like Gap and Benetton, which planted the seed for his understanding of what retail could become if someone applied Japanese manufacturing discipline to the Western mass market concepts on a global scale. In 1972, he joined the family business without a specific vision for transformation. But within 2 years, all staff walked out due to management-style conflicts. This was a humbling experience that forced him to recognize his own personal limitations. That experience formed the 1 win 9 losses philosophy, acknowledging 90% of experiments fail, but each seeds future success. If analyzed properly, the sole employee who remained still works with him 50 years later, proving loyalty to those who understand vision. In 1984, Yanai opened the first store in Hiroshima called Unique Clothing Warehouse. This bold concept for Japan was to provide high-quality basics at affordable prices for practical customers who cared more about function than chasing fleeting fashion statements. By 1998, Uniqlo exploded with over 300 stores across Japan, driven by a $15 fleece jacket that 1 in 4 Japanese people purchased, revealing that customers truly wanted clothing that solved real-life problems in their daily lives. Yanai is frequently compared to Steve Jobs for his business acumen and philosophical approach to product design and personal minimalism. He views clothing as a human problem solver. Like the iconic black turtleneck he wears Uniqlo daily to embody his personal convictions. For him, Uniqlo is not fashion, but actually a technology company. This distinction is key to understanding why fast retailing outperformed competitors who remain trapped in seasonal cycles of trend prediction and markdown-driven inventory liquidation within the traditional apparel retail industry. While competitors chase fleeting trends, Uniqlo engineers clothing as problem-solving products through long-term strategic partnerships, which create market barriers that no competitor can quickly replicate, such as the collaboration with the leading fiber manufacturer Toray Industries, started back in Liangtianlingliu. This partnership began in 2006 with a massive material supply agreement, creating products that changed customer expectations for affordable clothing. HEATTECH, launched in 2003, is the prime example of this engineering approach to the clothing and textile industry. This thermal technology absorbs moisture and converts kinetic energy into heat through specialized fibers, keeping the body warm without bulky layers. Uniqlo developed over 10,000 fabric prototypes before perfecting this breakthrough product, creating an entirely new category of merchandise for consumers. By 2013, the company sold 123 million units, while Airism was launched to solve the opposite challenge of providing cooling comfort in summer through ultrafine microfibers that absorb vapor and make dealing with hot weather much more manageable. Their ultra-light down jackets compress into tiny pouches, yet provide exceptional warmth. And since 2019, they pioneered down recycling to protect the environment. These innovations create high barriers to entry because competitors need years of research to replicate such precision. By 2025, Yanai proved his technology-first model works in Japan and Asia. But the US market remained difficult. North America accounts for 8.6% of revenue, yet is central to his ambitions, revealing his deepest personal motivations. His connection to American culture is deep-rooted in a childhood, shaped by post-war optimism and casual American styles. He was born in '49 and raised on US television shows, absorbing a preppy aesthetic that influenced his vision for Uniqlo. Early US expansion attempts were failures. Testing the 1 win 9 losses philosophy as they closed 16 of 21 stores due to wrong locations in suburban malls. Yanai admitted they failed to grasp fundamentals and treated that failure as valuable data. The turning point came with flagship stores in urban centers, where sophisticated consumers could discover the brand. The Fifth Avenue store opening signaled a strong presence, as North America revenue grew 30% with a goal of 200 stores by 2027. Current expansion focuses on demand-driven locations identified through e-commerce data in states like Texas and Florida, as part of thoughtful growth, opening the right stores in the right places instead of spreading thin to fill the gaps left by competitors. The difference between the decline of others and Uniqlo's rise lies in 23 management principles called the soul of fast retailing. This philosophy addresses human problems instead of treating clothes as commodities, and serves as the criteria for all company judgments. He stated that a soul is precious. Without a soul, a company or person is an empty shell with no value. The first principle is responding to customer needs and creating new customers from satisfaction, putting the customer at the center. Always. The 1 win 9 losses philosophy treats failure as a controlled experiment rather than a setback. To avoid, one must analyze all information from both success and failure. Remember lessons learned and apply them next time forming the company approach to expansion. Yanai rejects pure delegation in a way different from managers, who only lead through reports. He believes no good manager stays in the office focused on administrative work. He regularly visits flagship stores to personally inspect colors, fabrics, and stitching quality. The attention to physical detail from his father's shop has been scaled to a global operation, but never abandoned for spreadsheets. The company also holds biannual conventions, bringing together thousands of store managers to ensure unity in communication and strategic execution. Fast retailing has raised remuneration to competitive global levels, recognizing that employee abilities should be compensated to attract and retain talent. Yanai believes nothing is gained from pessimism. Since nobody predicts the future, create it, and creators of the future will be blessed. At 76, Yanai faces the question of who inherits this massive enterprise. Since he owns 41% of shares, his 2 sons each hold a small portion, but he has been clear that he will not pass control to family. Both sons joined the group in 2009, but their roles focus on governance oversight. They exist to prevent future professional management from betraying company principles and its soul, instead of inheriting direct operational control of a business built on meritocratic competition. The most likely successor is Daisuke Tsukakoshi, who became president of Uniqlo in 2023, though Yanai shows no signs of slowing down, working 7 to 4 daily with a pugilism beneath his exterior, believing there is no retirement for founders. Yanai has donated nearly $59 million to UCLA to support humanities research, believing companies must contribute to society to justify their existence. A company only pursuing bottom lines will not survive without a soul that gives meaning to the effort. The $50 billion fortune built from basic cardigans proved a contrarian insight that Yanai spent 50 years demonstrating that the future of fashion belongs to those who engineer solutions to timeless human needs, instead of those only chasing the latest trends. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, whether prioritizing meritocracy over family inheritance represents the future of leadership or reflects a specific Japanese cultural context that cannot translate to other dynasties. Thank you for joining Old Money Habits 7.